I have to admit, I felt a little pressure coming up with your own dinosaur, but it was fun. I did a bunch of sketches, and little by little, I started getting a feel of him and the direction I wanted to go with him. But it's pretty. You know what though? I make up things every day when I draw, so I guess I'm pretty used to this too. Thinking about it.
But Mike, when you made it up, did you look for certain aspects from different dinosaurs to try and incorporate it, or did you just free draw?
Yeah, I looked at some dinosaurs. I still have dinosaur books from a million years ago when my boys were little, and I still have them, one of them at least. And I use that, and I just went through reference, and I looked at dinosaurs, and I went on the internet, and I looked at all kinds of different dinosaurs. And boy, I don't live too far from New York City, and too bad the pandemic was going on, because it would have been neat to go into the Museum of Natural History and just bring my sketchbook and sit and maybe I could still do that now. So
now, Shelli, I have to ask, what was your reaction when you saw the completed Theo for the first time?
I loved it. So I had gotten sketches throughout the process, and my editor was really wonderful in asking for just any ideas or, any feedback that I had. So I saw his initial kind of grouping of different dinosaurs, and there were two. One was Theo, and I can't remember what the other one was, that looked a little bit different. So like Mike said, we didn't want it to look like a brontosaurus or a T-Rex or anything that had already been done, because a thesaurus is a new species that we have uncovered. And so we wanted it to be a little bit different. And then they started just asking, like, what would you like to see? What color would you like to see him? And, because you see a lot of dinosaurs that are in, greens and browns. I said it'd be fun if it was a blue or a purple, or just some way for him to stand out. And I think my editor and I had come up with the idea of having a book spine, but we were just tossing out fun ideas. Like, wouldn't it be fun if he had a book spine? Wouldn't it be fun if he had book scales? Wouldn't it be fun if he had this? So I had seen it in the process, but then when I saw the final version, I just thought he was adorable. I mean, he just, his smile, and I love him.
And he does look like a Theo TheSaurus. Like his name fits him. So it's like the perfect combo. So now, had either one of you worked? Well, had you worked together before, or was this your first project?
Nope, this is it. This is our first project.
Yeah, and we hadn't met each other until the school visit that we did with you, Karen. Yeah, that was the first time we had met. So we talked over email, but they try to keep the author and the illustrator, I think, separate, just in the creative process, so that we don't bleed into, the other person's process, so that it's kind of organic, and it just, just comes from a special place as opposed to a controlling place. So a lot of times we don't get a chance to talk to our illustrators until the book actually comes out.
Plus, they probably don't want us to complain to each other. I have to draw this again.
So do you each have a favorite word in the book?
Oh, I'd have to go back and search the words. I can't think.
I do. Mine is shenanigans. So I feel like shenanigans was used when I was younger. Like, my mom used to say shyster to some of my friends, and shenanigans. And so I just feel like shenanigans is just like some fun, mischief. Not really troublesome, but just, I have a friend that my mom used to always call a shyster. Like, he's such a shyster, and he's always doing shenanigans. So I think that's one of my favorite words. It just reminds me of when I was little.
Well, how did you come up with the words?
I don't know. Like, I tried to come up with the story. Originally, it started as a different story, which was a thesaurus teaching the reader how to be a thesaurus. Like, hey, you want to be a thesaurus and love words? Here's how you do it. And that was originally the manuscript that sold. And so it was kind of breaking the fourth barrier, I guess is what they say. And then as we were going through the editorial process, we had edited the entire book. We had done the entire book. It had been several months, and it was going to copy edits. And my editor came back and said, hey, you know, we had a meeting and some people were throwing out some ideas, and we were wondering if maybe there was a different story there that was more character driven that we could build on maybe in the future. Well, of course, I heard build on. I'm like, build on? That means maybe they want more. So she said, would you be willing to rewrite the entire thing? And I said, of course. And then that's when I would have called Mike to complain and say, I have to rewrite this whole book. So I rewrote the whole book from scratch and tried to just come up with a story of, you know, when would be a time that would just be horrible to be misunderstood. And of course, it came back to school. And sometimes my son uses words, as he's grown up, he's always really been into words. And sometimes he'll use words out of context. And I always thought that was so cute and so funny. I never corrected him when he was little. He would just use a big word and I would be like, I'm not sure that's what that means, but you know, good for you. So that was kind of how Theo's story came about.
So Mike, so you didn't have a favorite word?
You know, I'm gonna have to go with shenanigans because I did a lot of shenanigans when I was little. So.
Well, no, I have to ask. So like the little dino guy that gives the definitions, who came up with that?
That was my editor, Jill Santopolo and Liza Kaplan. I mean, they came up with that, you know, started calling him that little Defino dino guy that's in the corner. And then it was kind of like, oh, we should name him. And we all were trying to throw out names and they were just like, what about just Defino Dino? And we were like, we love it. So, I mean, that was totally an editor. That's why a book is so fun, because there's so many people putting their creative ideas into it. So a book is not just an author or an illustrator. I mean, there's a whole team that really goes into building a book. And so that was all them. I cannot take credit for that. And there is going to be a second book. So we just announced that there would be a second book. So the second book is originally, I don't know what they'll end up titling it, but originally it came out as Theo and the Perilous Pet, where Theo really wants a pet and he finds a saber-toothed tiger and tries to train him because he's a little unruly, but the saber-toothed tiger Fang does not understand him. And so he tries to find other ways to communicate and get him to fall in line.